Stop right there. Before you scroll away, let me ask you something that will change how you see every interaction for the rest of your life. Have you ever wondered why some people never get disrespected? Why they never get interrupted in meetings? Why their time is never wasted? Why people think twice before crossing them? Meanwhile, others get walked all over, dismissed, and treated like doormats no matter how kind or capable they are. I'm about to reveal something that's going to make you uncomfortable. The reason you keep getting disrespected isn't because you're not smart enough, not successful enough, or not worthy enough. It's because you've been playing by rules that don't exist. You've been taught that being good and kind will earn you respect. But here's the brutal truth. Goodness without strategy is the fastest way to become everyone's backup plan. 500 years ago, a man named Niccolò Machiavelli cracked the code of human psychology. He watched kind rulers get overthrown. He saw generous leaders get betrayed by the very people they helped. He witnessed good people get destroyed while calculating individuals rose to power. And he wrote down what he discovered. Today, I'm going to share his hidden truth with you. The dark psychology behind why some people command respect effortlessly, while others beg for scraps of attention their entire lives. In the next few minutes, you're going to learn why your kindness is actually making you vulnerable. Why people don't appreciate your generosity, they exploit it. And most importantly, how to transform from someone who gets walked on to someone who gets respected without saying a word. But first, let me be crystal clear about something. I'm not telling you to become cruel or manipulative. I'm showing you how to use psychological principles strategically, not blindly. Now I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose strategic respect over blind kindness. From today, everything changes. You will no longer allow disrespect to go unchallenged. You will understand the game that's being played around you every single day. Let's start with the first shocking truth. Number 1, the respect paradox. Think about the kindest person you know. Now think about this. Do people truly respect them? Or do they see them as the person they call when they need? Here's something's what most people don't understand. The kinder you are, the less respect you actually receive. It sounds backwards, but human psychology is backwards. When you're consistently agreeable, people start seeing you as predictable. They know you won't fight back. They know you won't say no. They know they can push you around because you're too nice to do anything about it. You become the office doormat, the friend who always pays for dinner, the family member who always says yes, even when it hurts you. Let me tell you about someone I knew. He was the nicest manager you could imagine. Always helped his team, always covered for their mistakes, always put their needs before his own. Guess what happened when promotion time came? They promoted someone else over him, someone who was less qualified, less experienced, but more assertive. Why? Because nice people don't look like leaders, they look like servants. People don't respect your kindness, they exploit it. When someone is always available to help, their help becomes worthless. When someone never sets boundaries, people will keep crossing them. When someone never shows consequences for bad behavior, people assume they never will. Your goodness becomes your weakness because it signals to everyone around you that you can be taken advantage of without cost. Machiavelli once said, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel." People see your actions, but they feel your energy. And if your energy says, "I'm safe to disrespect," that's exactly how they'll treat you. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am not safe to disrespect. Number 2, the psychology of consequences. Here's something that will transform how you see every relationship in your life. Respect isn't, it's commanded given. And you can't command anything without consequences. Every single person who so because they understand their respects you does as a price for crossing you. Think about it. When was the last time someone truly respected a person who had no teeth? Never. Because respect is built on one simple principle. Consequence. When people know that disrespecting you will cost them something, they don't disrespect you. When they know they can walk all over you without any pushback, they will. This is where most good people get it completely wrong. They think respect comes from being impressive, successful, or talented. But that's not respect. That's admiration. Respect comes from knowing you won't tolerate disrespect. It comes from boundaries that actually mean something. When someone disrespects you and you do nothing, you're teaching them that disrespecting you is free. You're literally training them to treat you badly. But when someone disrespects you and their immediate consequence, they lose access to you, they lose your help, they lose your presence. They learn real quick not to do it again. This is why the nicest people often get treated the worst. They've trained everyone around them that bad behavior has no consequences. They've made themselves safe to disrespect. And once you're safe to disrespect, respect becomes impossible. But what happens when you flip the script? When you make it clear that your time, attention, and energy have value. When you show people that disrespecting you comes with a cost, everything changes. Suddenly, people start watching their words around you. They start thinking before they act. They start treating you like someone who matters. Machiavelli understood something most people never learn. He said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Now, he wasn't talking about being a tyrant. He was talking about the psychology of respect. Fear here doesn't mean terror. It means consequences. People will treat you exactly how you allow them to treat you. No better, no worse. The moment you stop accepting disrespect, people stop giving it to you. The moment you start enforcing consequences, people start respecting your boundaries. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My boundaries have consequences. Number 3, the manipulation you don't see. Here's something that's going to shock you. Every single day, people are using your need for approval against you. They've figured out that a little bit of validation can get you to do almost anything. And you're helping them do it by being so desperate for their acceptance. This is how approval addiction works. Someone gives you a compliment, likes your post, or tells you you're wonderful. Your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical released when people use drugs. You feel amazing. And just like any drug, once that high wears off, you need another hit. The people around you figure this out real quick. They learn that a little bit of approval can control your behavior completely. Need you to work late? A little praise about your work ethic. Need you to lend them money? A compliment about how generous you are. Need you to ignore their bad behavior? Some sweet talk about how understanding you are. They're literally using your brain chemistry against you. And the worst part is, you're helping them do it by being so hungry for validation that you'll take whatever scraps they throw your way. But people who don't need approval, they're impossible to manipulate this way. You can't control someone with compliments if they don't need compliments. You can't manipulate someone with acceptance if they don't need acceptance. You can't use emotions there against them if their emotions don't depend on your opinion. The brutal truth about validation is this. It's cheap to give and expensive to receive. Anyone can tell you you're wonderful. It costs them but for nothing. You to feel good about yourself. You need to hear it over and over again from more and more people. You become dependent on something that others control completely. Machiavelli once said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." The moment you stop performing for others' approval, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability is power. What happens when you break free from the approval trap? First, people don't know how to manipulate you anymore. They can't push your buttons because you've disconnected the buttons from your actions. Second, your decision-making becomes crystal clear. Instead of asking what will make others happy, you start asking what's best for you. Third, your relationships improve dramatically because the ones that survive are based on mutual respect instead of your desperation for approval. This is the psychology shift that changes everything. From hoping they like you to not caring if they like you. From needing their approval to making them earn your respect. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I control my own validation. Number 4, the silent power of strategic distance. Here's something that will completely change how you approach every relationship in your life. The people who command the most respect are never the ones who are always available. They're the ones who make their presence scarce and their attention valuable. Most people have this backwards. They think being constantly available makes them indispensable. They think always saying yes makes them valuable. They think giving unlimited access to their time and energy makes them loved. They're wrong on every single count. Scarcity creates value. Always has, always will. When something is rare, people want it more. When something is common, people take it for granted. This applies to money, objects, opportunities, and most importantly, you. When you're always available, you become background noise in people's lives. They know you'll always be there, so they stop appreciating your presence. They know you'll always say yes, so they stop valuing your cooperation. They know you'll always help them, so they stop feeling grateful for your assistance. But when your time becomes scarce, when your attention becomes limited, when your help becomes conditional, suddenly people start treating these things like the precious resources they actually are. Think about the people who have the most social power in any group. Are they the ones who show up to everything and agree with everyone? Never. They're the ones who show up when they want to, leave when they're ready, and say no without explanation. Their selective presence makes their actual presence more valuable. This is the power of strategic distance. Not being cold or cruel, but being selective about where you invest your energy. Not being mean to people, but not being endlessly available to them either. Machiavelli once said, "Men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities." People value what they can't easily have. The less they see of you, the more they wonder about you. And curiosity is magnetic. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My presence is a privilege, not a right. Number 5, the mask of controlled emotion. Here's where most people completely lose their power without even realizing it. Every time you react emotionally to disrespect, you hand control of the situation to the person who disrespected you. Every outburst, every defensive explanation, every hurt feeling you show gives them exactly what they wanted. People who disrespect you are testing you. They want to see if they can control your emotions. They want to know if they can make you dance to their tune. And when you react with anger, hurt, or frustration, you've just told them that yes, they have power over you. But what happens when you respond to disrespect with complete calm? When you meet their provocation with cold indifference or even slight amusement, you've just shown everyone watching that they can't touch you. You're psychologically bulletproof. And that's terrifying to people who depend on emotional manipulation. This doesn't mean becoming emotionless. It means becoming strategic about when and how you show emotion. Your emotions should serve your goals, not the goals of people trying to manipulate you. Let me give you a practical example. Someone insults you in front of others, trying to embarrass you and get a reaction. Most people would either get defensive and argue back, or shrink away in hurt silence. Both responses give the attacker what they want: power over your emotional state. Instead, you look at them calmly, maybe even smile slightly, and say something like, "Interesting perspective." Then continue with whatever you were doing. You've just demonstrated that their opinion has zero impact on your emotional state. You've shown everyone watching that you're unshakable. And you've made the attacker look foolish for trying to provoke someone who clearly doesn't care about their opinion. This controlled response does 3 things simultaneously. It protects your emotional energy, it maintains your dignity, and it shows everyone present that you're not someone who can be easily rattled. Machiavelli understood this principle perfectly. He knew that the person who remains calm while others lose control is the person who truly holds the power. Emotional control isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about choosing when and how to express them strategically. When you master this skill, something remarkable happens. People start treating you differently. They speak more carefully around you. They think twice before testing you. They begin to see you as someone who operates on a different level. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose my emotional responses strategically. Number 6, the economics of respect. Every relationship in your life operates on an economy of respect, attention, favors, and energy. And just like any economy, the laws of supply and demand apply. When you oversupply your attention and underdemand respect in return, you create an imbalance that destroys your value in that relationship. Most people give away their most valuable resources for free: their time, their energy, their expertise, their emotional support. They hand these things out like candy on Halloween, wondering why people don't appreciate them more. But here's the brutal truth about human psychology. People only value what costs them something. When you help someone solve a problem they've been struggling with for months and you do it for free, they might say thank you, but they won't respect the solution as much as if they had to work for it or pay for it. When you're always available to someone's problems, they stop appreciating your emotional support because it feels unlimited and therefore worthless. This isn't cynical. This is how human brains are wired. We assign value based on scarcity and cost. When something comes easily, we assume it's not particularly valuable. When something requires effort or sacrifice to obtain, we treasure it. Look at your own relationships. The people who respect you most are probably not the people you've helped the most. They're the people who had to earn your help, your time, or your attention. They're the people who know that access to you comes with conditions and expectations. Now think about the people who take you for granted. They're usually the people who have learned that they can get your time, energy, and attention without giving anything meaningful in return. You've accidentally trained them to devalue you by making yourself too available and asking for too little in return. The solution isn't to become selfish or transactional in an ugly way. The solution is to understand that healthy relationships require mutual investment. When you give your resources away without expecting anything in return, you're not being noble. You're being economically naive. Machiavelli observed that benefits ought to be conferred gradually, and in that way they will taste better. He understood that the timing and conditions of your generosity determine how much it's valued. A favor given strategically, it creates the right moment lasting gratitude. A favor given too freely becomes expected rather than appreciated. This principle applies to everything you give in relationships. Your time, your advice, your emotional support, your professional help, even your forgiveness. When these things come without conditions or consequences, they lose their power to create respect and gratitude. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I invest my energy where it's valued. Number 7, the illusion of fairness. Here's something that's going to shatter how you see the world forever. You've been operating under the assumption that life is fair, that good behavior gets rewarded, and that treating others well guarantees they'll treat you well in return. This belief is not just wrong, it's dangerous. It's the reason you keep getting blindsided by people who take advantage of your decency. The world doesn't operate on fairness. It operates on power dynamics, strategic positioning, and calculated moves. While you've been playing by the rules of kindness and reciprocity, others have been playing by the rules of advantage and opportunity. And guess who's winning? Every time someone cancels plans on you last minute, takes credit for your work, or treats you like their personal assistant, they're not accidentally being inconsiderate. They're testing to see what they can get away with. They're probing your boundaries to understand how much deists tolerate. Respect you, and when you respond with understanding and forgiveness instead of consequences, you're teaching them that the answer is unlimited. This is why the same patterns keep repeating in your life. Different people, same disrespectful behavior. You think you're just unlucky with the people you meet, but the common denominator is how you respond to boundary violations. You've been advertising yourself as someone who will absorb mistreatment without pushing back. Machiavelli watched this dynamic play out in kingdoms across Europe. He saw rulers who believed in fairness and honor get dethroned by those who understood that power respects power, not virtue. He witnessed generous kings get betrayed by the very nobles they had helped. He observed that in the real world, good intentions without strategic thinking lead to destruction. But here's where it gets really interesting. Once you understand that fairness is an illusion, you become incredibly powerful. Because while everyone else is waiting for the world to treat them fairly, you're focused on creating the conditions where people have no choice but to treat you with respect. Instead of hoping people will be considerate of your time, you make your time scarce and valuable. Instead of trusting that people will appreciate your help, you make your help conditional on their behavior toward you. Instead of believing that kindness will be reciprocated, you ensure that kindness comes with clear expectations. This shift in thinking changes everything. You stop being surprised when people act selfishly. You stop feeling victimized when someone tries to take advantage of you. You stop waiting for others to give you the respect you deserve and start creating the conditions where respect becomes inevitable. The people who command respect in this world aren't the ones who believe in fairness. They're the ones who understand that respect is created through strategic action, not hoped for through good behavior. They know that in a world where fairness is an illusion, the only real security comes from making yourself too valuable to disrespect and too dangerous to cross. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I create my own fairness through strategic action. Number 8. The power of calculated unpredictability. Here's the final piece of the puzzle that will transform you from someone who gets walked on to someone who gets respected. Predictable people are controllable people. When others know exactly how you'll react to every situation, they can manipulate those reactions to get what they want from you. Think about the people in your life who take advantage of you. They know your patterns perfectly. They know you'll say yes when always asked for help. They know you'll always forgive when they apologize. They know you'll always choose peace over conflict. This predictability makes you easy to exploit. But what happens when you become unpredictable? When people can't anticipate your responses? When sometimes you're generous and sometimes you're firm? When sometimes you help and sometimes you prioritize yourself? Suddenly, they have to treat you with respect, because they don't know what version of you they're going to get. This doesn't mean being chaotic or inconsistent with your values. It means being strategically unpredictable in your responses to how others treat you. Sometimes you accept an apology immediately. Sometimes you make them work to earn your forgiveness. Sometimes you're available to help. Sometimes you're too busy with your own priorities. Machiavelli understood this principle deeply. He advised that a prince ought to be slow to believe and to act, nor should he himself show fear, but proceed in a temperate manner with prudence and humanity. The key word here is temperate. Not always harsh, not always lenient, but strategically balanced based on the situation and the person. When you master calculated unpredictability, people start treating you differently. They can't take you for granted because they're never sure what your response will be. They can't manipulate you easily because your reactions don't follow their expected patterns. They start approaching you with more respect because they know you might not respond the way they want. This creates what psychologists call intermittent reinforcement. Sometimes people get what they want from you, sometimes they don't. This creates a much stronger psychological response than consistent behavior. People become more invested in earning your positive responses because they're not guaranteed. The most respected people in any environment are never completely predictable. They have standards and principles, but their application of those principles varies based on circumstances and the behavior of others. This keeps everyone around them slightly on edge in the best possible way. People start thinking before they speak to you. They consider their actions more carefully. They invest more effort in maintaining a good relationship with you because they know that relationship isn't guaranteed or automatically maintained. Your unpredictability becomes your protection. When people can't predict your responses, they can't plan to exploit you. When they don't know if you'll be accommodating or firm, they default to treating you with more respect just to be safe. But here's the crucial balance. Your unpredictability should serve your respect and boundaries, not undermine them. You're not being random or chaotic. You're being strategically variable in your responses based on how others are treating you and what the situation requires. The goal is to become someone who rewards good behavior generously and responds to poor behavior decisively, but never in a way that others can predict or manipulate. This keeps you in control of every interaction while making others more invested in treating you well. Machiavelli once observed that the vulgar crowd always is taken by appearances, and the world consists chiefly of the vulgar. Most people will judge your responses based on surface appearances. When you're unpredictably generous to those who treat you well and unpredictably firm with those who don't, you create a reputation that precedes you. People start talking about you differently. They mention that you're someone who should be treated with respect. They warn others not to take advantage of you. Your reputation for being unpredictable becomes your shield against future disrespect. This is how you transform from someone who gets walked on to someone who gets respected, not through aggression or cruelty, but through strategic unpredictability that makes others invest more energy in treating you well because they can never be sure what the consequences will be if they don't. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My responses are strategic, not predictable. The transformation from doormat to respected individual doesn't happen overnight, but it starts with understanding these psychological principles. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to either reinforce old patterns or establish new ones. Every moment someone tests your boundaries becomes a chance to show them who you really are. You now possess knowledge that most people will never understand. You know why kindness without strategy leads to exploitation. You understand how consequences create respect. You recognize the manipulation tactics others use against you. You see through the illusion of fairness that keeps most people powerless. Most importantly, you understand that respect isn't something you earn through good behavior. It's something you command through strategic thinking, clear boundaries, and calculated responses. The world has been teaching you the wrong game your entire life. Now you know the rules of the game that actually matters. But knowledge without action is worthless. Understanding these principles means nothing if you don't implement them in your daily life. The people who will resist your transformation the most are the ones who have benefited from your old patterns. They're going to test you harder when you start enforcing boundaries. They're going to push back when you stop being predictable. They're going to try every manipulation tactic they know to get you back to your old, controllable self. This is where most people fail. They learn these concepts, feel empowered for a few days, then cave under pressure and return to their old patterns. They apologize for setting boundaries. They make excuses for enforcing consequences. They convince themselves that being strategic is somehow wrong or manipulative. Here you need to understand about this resistance. It's not personal. These people aren't necessarily evil or malicious. They're simply trying to maintain a system that benefits them. When you change the rules of engagement, they're going to fight to restore the old rules. This is human nature. People resist change that reduces their advantages. The key is expecting this resistance and not letting it derail your transformation. When someone who used to walk all over you suddenly faces consequences for their behavior, they might escalate their disrespect to test whether your new boundaries are real. This is called an extinction burst in psychology. The behavior gets worse before it disappears completely. Your job during this testing phase is to remain consistent. Don't explain yourself repeatedly. Don't justify your boundaries to people who have already demonstrated they don't respect them. Don't negotiate with individuals who are trying to manipulate you back into your old patterns. Simply enforce your standards with calm, unwavering consistency. Some relationships won't survive this transformation. The people who were only in your life because you were easy to exploit will disappear when you become difficult to take advantage of. This isn't a loss. This is a filtering process that reveals who actually values versus you who is simply using you. The relationships that do survive will become stronger and more genuine. When people realize they can't manipulate or control you, they're forced to relate to you authentically. They start appreciating your generosity because it's no longer guaranteed you're timed. They value because it's no longer unlimited. They respect your opinions because they know you won't just agree with everything they say. You've been living your entire life playing by rules that were designed to keep you powerless. Today, you discovered the truth that Machiavelli understood centuries ago. Respect isn't earned through kindness alone. It's commanded through strategy, boundaries, and calculated responses. The choice is yours. Will you continue being everyone's doormat, or will you finally become someone who commands the respect you deserve? Drop this final affirmation in the comments. I am the architect of my own respect. Your transformation starts now.